Grant Grizzlies, it's Miss.Ali here. I'm excited to be making another video for you. We're going to be talking about our toolbox tools that we've been talking through the last couple of weeks. So I'm here with two of my friends.
Hi Grant, this is Mr. V, back again. I hope everybody's adjusting well to the new time change in the fall, the different weather.
Hi Grant Grizzlies, Mrs.Lucy here. I'm excited that you're here again, watching these videos that we prepare for you, and that you are learning a lot and staying safe, warm, and cozy in your homes with this cold weather.
We've been talking about our toolbox tools for the last couple of weeks. Hopefully you remember some of those. We've talked about the breathing tool. We've talked about the empathy tool last week, where we talked about being able to consider others and take care of others and take care of yourself. This week, we are going to talk about what is called the personal space tool. The personal space tool helps us remember where my space ends and yours begins. Personal space is something that everyone has. It's a right that everybody has, and it's our responsibility to give others their personal space as well. We want to make sure that we're noticing physical space around us, because it helps us pay attention to our own needs, as well as being able to respect the needs of others. And remember that just as much as we need our personal space, others do too. And it's important that we talk about this tool, because understanding personal space is not just about you don't want anyone near you ever. It's about knowing the difference between situations that might feel a little annoying, maybe a little bit uncomfortable, and knowing situations that are actually unsafe and dangerous. So we're going to talk about that when we talk about personal space. I'm going to show you the movement when we talk about our tools. We always have a hand motion. So for personal space, I'm going to make this motion like I have space around myself. This is my personal space, and that helps me remember where my space ends and where yours begins. Now, again, when we're talking about personal space, we're talking about something that everyone has. So I want to know from Mr. V and Miss Lucy, how do you think it feels to have space that is just yours?
I think I personally like to have my own space. I think it feels more comfortable. I think that also everyone has a different size. I call it a bubble, right? So everyone has a little bit different size of a bubble that you like as your own space around you. And I think it feels more comfortable when you're able to have that space that you need, and people are respectful or aware of that space. And sometimes you just have to pay attention to people's face or their body language to know whether you're in their space or they're comfortable. You can generally tell when somebody's a little uncomfortable. How about you, Miss Lucy?
Well, for me, as I'm thinking about when we were back in school, just back in spring, I like having my own personal space. And like you said, my bubble. And if somebody got inside my bubble, I do remember saying, oh, you're too close, because it didn't feel comfortable. Not because I didn't like you or because anything else. It was more because, oh, that was too close for my personal wanting that space from another person.
There are different things that we call personal space invasions. So this is something where sometimes you might have actual danger and something that's unsafe. And sometimes it might not be unsafe or dangerous. It might just be annoying or uncomfortable. So we're going to talk about what personal space invasions are and help you understand knowing the difference between them and what you can do with either of those.
So one of the types of personal space invasions is like inconvenient or annoying, and that might be when maybe somebody's just talking to you really too close. Have you ever had somebody that likes to talk to you with their face right here? And me personally, if I can smell their breath, you're too close. I mean, and it's some people don't mind. Other people want more space, or even like a hug. Sometimes Sometimes I don't want one. Sometimes it depends on who the hug is from. And I think that it's good to be aware and be able to just kind of say personal space, or like you're in my bubble, you know, and not make it a huge deal, because they may not understand, because they're totally fine with it. And I also think, me personally, it kind of might also depend what zone I'm in. If I'm in a red zone, my space bubble might get bigger. Okay. If I'm in like the blue zone, maybe my space zone, my bubble gets a little smaller. Maybe I want that like person close and comfort, you know. What's a time that maybe you felt awkward or inconvenient, like the personal space invasion, Miss.Ali?
One of the ones that's really hard for me is when I am in line somewhere. I really don't like it when strangers, people I don't know at all, maybe in the grocery store, get right next to me and are in my personal space. And just like, you know, we've been talking about, personal space can get bigger or smaller depending on your relationships with the people around you and where you are. I don't know people at the grocery store. So when somebody that I don't know is right up next to me, it makes me very uncomfortable. I start feeling like I'm in the yellow zone. I'm getting anxious. I'm getting uncomfortable. Maybe I'm a little irritated. So that's definitely been times that I don't like it. What about you, Miss.Lucy?
Well, you know, I was thinking the example I want to give more for you guys today is kind of like what Mr.V said. Are you being annoyed, or are you really just feeling insecure or not safe? And what I was thinking about is, when we were in the classrooms, I remember we always had carpet time. And in carpet time, I remember a lot of you would say, oh, you're too close to my bubble. But in reality, I feel that at school, our bubble was a little smaller. And sometimes we were just annoyed. We all deserve our space, but we don't have to be rude when we ask for our space. Like, I know for my kids, that happens often, where they get too close to each other, or they'll push, and I'll say, hey, you know, you can use your words. And if you don't want them that close to you, you can say, hey, you're in my space. I'm annoyed, or I'm sad, or say the feeling that you're feeling. And then they'll realize that you need that space.
And I think it's important to remember how you say it, because if you need space and you need somebody to give you some space, you can say, oops, you're a little too close. Could you step back, please? Or you can even say, I'm a little uncomfortable. Can you give me a little bit of space?
And sometimes that's even very hard. Sometimes you have to look at yourself to find a tool. Like, maybe, so I'll use Miss.Ali in the grocery store. I don't know that she would always be comfortable turning around and saying like, excuse me, can you give me some space? That might feel even more uncomfortable than the space invasion. So sometimes she might take her tool of like, take some breaths and deal with that uncomfortable feeling a little bit, and know that it's going to pass in a couple minutes, because she's going to be able to go through. And like Miss.Ali's example now, it's even more, because as Miss.Lucy is going to talk about a little bit, she'll talk about some like danger and stuff. Now that personal space in the grocery store is not just uncomfortable, but because of COVID and all that stuff, Miss.Ali may also not like feel a little unsafe, or that they're not following the rules either, because you're not supposed to be that close. So that's kind of changed people's bubbles too. With the new spacing and social distancing, you have to be even more aware.
I think when we're talking about the difference between unsafe and uncomfortable or annoying, that's a good reminder that something that's unsafe is something that you should respond very differently from. Maybe something that's a little uncomfortable. A tool that you could use is the garbage can tool. Maybe it's something a little bit uncomfortable, but is it little enough that you can let that go? You know, for me in the grocery store, outside of the coronavirus, if somebody's too close to me in the grocery store and we're not in the middle of a pandemic, I can let that little thing go. But just like Mr.V said, sometimes there are unsafe situations. So Miss.Lucy is going to talk about what unsafe or even dangerous might look like with personal space invasion.
So what I want you to be aware of is your surroundings, depending on where you're at. For example, like Miss.Ali said, she's in the grocery store and she's approached by someone that's too close to her, and you're feeling uncomfortable. Your instinct is always going to tell you, oh, this doesn't feel right. I want you to always listen to that instinct. that feeling of where you're not feeling safe. You know who you can talk to. We tell you talk to your teachers. If a stranger approaches you, you don't have to talk to them. You go straight to an adult that you know and you tell them that that person's making you uncomfortable or that they're asking you something and you don't know them. So then we'll take over. When somebody gets really close to your space, remember, is making you really, really uncomfortable, you can use the stop and you have to be loud. So you tell them, stop, you're close to my space, but you have to be loud enough that somebody else hears you. From anywhere you are at, if you use that stop, you're too close to me, you'll get somebody's attention, they'll come and see what's happening.
Yep. And just like Miss Lucy was saying, if they are in your space and it's not just uncomfortable but unsafe, that's when you definitely have the right to react in a less kind or quiet way. You don't have to ask to please give you space. That is, like Miss Lucy said, you can be assertive and firm. I can use Miss.Ali's example again, that if someone was standing too close during the grocery store, that feels very uncomfortable. And she can use tools to deal with that. But if that person was standing close and then all of a sudden they put their hand like on her shoulders or something, that may now feel dangerous. And she now will probably not use her own tools, but she will likely react. What do you think you would do, Miss.Ali?
Yeah, I think that's a very good example. When it becomes dangerous or unsafe is when they either put their hands on me or maybe try to grab my things. I am going to respond with my serious voice and say, stop. And I'm going to say it in a way where I want to make sure other people hear. That is very important. When somebody invades your personal space in a way that is unsafe or dangerous, you get to use your serious voice, your firm voice, and your stop. And boys and girls, remember that unsafe or dangerous is not just dangerous where you could get hurt, but also unsafe or dangerous is anything that involves your body where somebody is getting too close to you or touching you in a way that makes you feel yucky. And you can listen to your body. When your body is giving you those cues where it says, I don't like this, this person is making me feel uncomfortable, you can use your serious voice and you can tell them, stop. Your personal space is your choice, who you let in there and who stays out of it. So anytime someone tells you, no, this is okay, I can do this because I care about you, or I can do this because we're friends. No, they can only be in your personal space if you decide they are a safe person who gets to be in your personal space. It is your decision.
I know that I wanted to bring up one more like example, just because sometimes for me it's hard to decipher safe and uncomfortable. And so I know that I'm just going to keep using your example so it stays consistent. But if, say, that example in the grocery store and someone's too close in her space, not touching her, and that's uncomfortable, that is also different than if that same person is that close while Miss.Ali's loading her stuff into her car in the parking lot. Right? So two of the exact same scenarios in a different place has now changed it from uncomfortable to feeling very unsafe.
I agree, Mr. V. Always go with your gut. If you don't know, just say, I'm unsafe. Remove yourself if you can. Find an adult that you trust, because then you will be really safe.
Remember, you have a right to your personal space, and so do others. We're going to do an imagination practice right now for personal space. So I want you to sit in a way that's comfortable together with me. Make sure that you're sitting where both of your feet are on the floor, or you can sit crisscross applesauce. That's actually how I'm sitting right now, where I am. Make sure that your hands are either on your knees or on the desk or a table in front of you. The point is, I want you to be comfortable and relaxed as much as you can. We're going to take 3 slow, deep belly breaths together. I'm going to count them for us. Breathe in. Breathe out. Again, breathe in. Breathe out. Last one, breathe in. Breathe out. All right. Remember that you have personal space around you. And remember that other people have personal space around them. Notice how you feel when someone comes into your personal space. And how might it be for them if you cross into their personal space? Knowing about personal space feels good. It can help us feel safe. Remember, you can always use your words to ask in a kind way when you're uncomfortable or annoyed. Will you please give me some more space? You can also, when someone is unsafe or dangerous, use your serious voice to tell them, stop. You decide with your personal space, and you let others decide with their personal space. Let's take another deep breath together. Breathe in. Breathe out. Right, you can wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Thanks for doing the imagination practice with me, and we hope that you join us for lunch groups throughout the week.
Bye, Grand Grizzlies.